Okay guys, here we are. This is the start of the Hadrians Wall path, and as you can see up there it says Wall's End, 84 miles. So we're doing a big section of the wall today. Our first section is from here to Walton, which is a 25-mile stretch, so a really big one to make the start. It's just started to spit spot with rain, but I'm quite optimistic. I think we're good to go. So here it is. This is turning back the clock. So guys, we've just set off, and one of the most grueling factors of today's walk is that it's actually not very scenic at all, because of the build-up of the area and deterioration over time of the wall. This actual first section, we're just kind of walking along roads along the original path of the wall, so there's no exposed sections. There's not really too much to show you other than the views that we are getting, and this first section is just more about pressing on where we can get to the more exposed sections of wall. So a lot of what you'll be seeing in today's episode will be a lot of road walking, and hopefully not too much pain from us as we go along. And just to add to the grueling nature of today, we actually stayed in Carlisle last night, and we've had a taxi out to the start this morning. And probably one of the most painful factors of this is we've actually got to walk back through Carlisle today, which is about 15 miles. So by the time we get to where we actually started this morning, we're absolutely shattered, and yet we'll still have the best part of another 10-mile hike before we get to the hotel later on today. Okay, so we've actually come off paths now, guys, and we're actually in cattle fields, so we're just walking through various sections, but I am keeping an eye out, to be honest, because I don't know whether if you've seen some of my earlier videos, I was actually chased out of one field by a very angry bull. There's just a little clip of that in the top corner. Yeah, chased out of that field by a very angry bull. Fortunately there were no signs on the end of the field when I went in. There was a sign, however, on the way out, which was no use to me. So I am keeping an eye out for angry cattle, because I don't have a very good track record with pleasing the local wildlife, having been chased by a swan whilst kayaking down the canal as well. So yeah, keeping an eye out. So as I mentioned a little bit of time ago, in relation to the episode where I got chased by a bull, we have now got a situation where there are hundreds of cows all over the place, and then when we were actually in the taxi up here earlier, there was a couple of bulls kicking about as well. So this is either going to be absolutely nothing and these aren't going to pay any attention to us whatsoever, which I'm hoping is the case, because it's quite a commonly used path. We're on a road, there's cars going up and down, and there'll be walkers along here all day long. So it's either going to go like that, or it's going to end up in a situation where we're reliving episode 3 of Turning Back the Clock, where I'm running away from cattle yet again. Hopefully it's not that one, so we'll just have to see. So we've actually come up onto this this mound. Look at that. Because Liam is losing his because there is a cow walking down the road behind us. So apparently we've found an anti-cow hill that is going to protect us from the angry cow, apparently. So to be fair, we haven't got much longer to go on this stretch anyway, so we'll just see what happens. There is a little bit of a stream between us and them, which I'm 100% sure we're not going to be able to cross after we've been through this section, so that'll be fun. There's some sheep over there as well, but yeah, this cow really is not paying any attention to us whatsoever. And the one that's walking, it is walking down the middle of the road, I'll give you that. It did make a little bit of noise as we started walking down here, but then animals make noises, so we'll just see. But we're now locked off from the road because we've come up onto this hill, so we're now the wrong side of a stream. I'm just hoping we don't have to wade through it to get back on the road, but we'll have to see. I mean, to be fair, the panic is not unjust. There were some very promiscuous bulls kicking about at about 7 o'clock this morning as we drove past in a taxi, and I don't fancy being on the receiving end of that. Okay guys, so as I mentioned on the video a little bit earlier, we came in and there was some promiscuous bulls kicking around, and they were actually all gathered around this car. And I don't know if you can see the door, but the door now has a massive dent in it, which I can only assume has been done this morning by the bulls that were all around this vehicle. Wounded. Okay, so it's about 10 o'clock. We've been going for about 2.5 hours. I think we are on probably about the 7 to 8 mile mark, so we're doing pretty good today. We've just stopped to make a cup of coffee and have a little bit of a sit down, and then we'll carry on. Okay, so we are back on the trail, and weirdly I can't decide whether or not it's the additional weight that I've got on my back today, but weirdly after the first 8 mile I'm starting to develop a little bit of a blister on my foot, which as a general rule I never normally suffer with blisters, so I'm a bit puzzled by it. It might be down to the weight. It could also be down to the increased amount of road walking we're doing today. So obviously normally when we're out hiking we're off-road, and there's not a constant friction being brought up by the same surface all the time, so it could be due to that. But I've stuck a compede on it, and we'll just have to see how it goes. Okay, so we're starting to get a little bit of rain coming in, so it is getting a little bit wet, but luckily, as I say, we are stopping in hotels along the way. Now, if you look back at some of my earlier videos, the original intention was to actually camp along the route. Unfortunately, due to it being October and can't really can't really determine what the weather is going to do from day to day. It would have been a silly idea to camp along the way, because we'd have never kept all of our stuff dry. And then when you're carrying wet gear with you, you're increasing the amount of weight you've got. You're carrying wet clothes, wet equipment. So we made a decision quite late on, actually, to actually book into places as we go. And actually, when I say late on, we were actually on the train yesterday, coming up here with only one hotel booking for our entire trip. And essentially what we'll be doing is we'll be booking our hotels as we go along to try and maximise the walking that we can do each day. So we're going to have a look later at this hotel as to what we can book for tomorrow. So we're kind of planning it as we go, which is good in a sense, because it means that we're not set to an amount we have to walk per day, but also might cause problems if there's no availability. So we'll have to see. Okay, so we've just had a little bit more rain sort of at the house now, which is making it a hell of a lot better, keeps the water off my face. But we are in the middle of Carlisle, just walking through the park. And as I say, this is where we stopped last night. The hotel we stopped in was actually about 5 minutes around that corner. So it won't be really until after this point where we feel like we're actually making any progress, although we are 15 miles into the walk. Okay, so now the rain has actually started to come in, so we're probably only about 2 miles outside Carlisle at this point. So to be honest, we haven't checked the map in a while, not really sure how much further we've got to go today, but we will be stopping for a cup of coffee very shortly. And then, as I say, we'll be going on to the final part of the trail for today. There goes the hood. So, getting a little bit tired now, to be honest. It's been a long day so far. Luckily, the way we've planned the trail out, we did have a bit of a look, and I think tomorrow's section of the trail is only somewhere between 12 to 15 miles. So today we'll actually be getting the longest section of the trail out of the way, and then we're into the more picturesque areas of the Hadrians Wall walk after that. Okay guys, so we have just had a little bit of a rest, nice cup of coffee and something to eat. We have got approximately 9 miles to go to Walton, which is the location of our first stop on this section of the walk, and that's where we're stopping tonight, and we will obviously get food and rest and be back out again tomorrow morning. So we're just having a sneaky sit down in a bus stop because it is absolutely pouring down out there, and as I said earlier on in this episode, I don't particularly want to be walking the rest of the journey with soaking wet gear if we don't have to. So at the minute we're just taking refuge in this little bus stop. Now there is some blue sky just up there, so I'm only expecting this rainstorm to be only about 10 minutes long, 10-15 minutes, something like that, and then we can get back to walking. But there is, we are aware of, there's a couple of hikers that were behind us who don't seem to have appeared, so I think we're there sheltering under a tree at some point. But yeah, it's quite lucky we've managed to find this bus stop and take a bit of refuge while we can. But unfortunately, we are burning daylight. So with such a long walk left to do to get to our next destination, we might just have to make do and go with it and deal with the problem of the water afterwards. So we'll just have to see. Okay, so we came out of the bus stop after the rain had died down, and we had maybe 20 minutes of dry, and then we are absolutely getting soaked now. And as I say, if we were actually camping this, we would be in a world of trouble now, because every single piece of our gear would be soaking wet. As it stands, what I've done is, as I was packing yesterday, I put all my clothes into a dry bag within my rucksack, so at least I know for a fact that all of my clothes for the rest of the week will be completely dry when I get to the hotel later. So I'll be able to have a decent shower, decent meal, and then dry clothes for tomorrow. Okay, so I've actually had to switch to the camera on the iPhone, because we've been walking all day at this rate, and the GoPro is completely dead and out of battery. I think we've got probably another 2 to probably 2.5 miles until we get to the pub that we're stopping at today. So this will be my last vlog probably until we get there, and then we'll pick up what's going on tomorrow just after that. Okay guys, so we're on day 2. We stopped at the Hampton Arms in the Howard Arms in Brampton last night. We've got probably about 15 miles to go today, so not as big as yesterday, but that should take us right up to the edge of Northumbria National Park. So day 3 will be the national park all in one, which is about 18 miles I think. So today we've got a fairly easy walk to do compared to yesterday. Feet are still hurting from yesterday, but other than that, quite good. Feeling quite energetic. So here we go. Okay, so we are back on it guys. We've just left the pub. It's pouring with rain already, so that gives you a glimpse as to what today's going to be like. We've got probably about a 2-mile walk now to get back up onto the trail where we left off yesterday, and then I think we've got about 15 miles to walk today. So we've got a fair bit of road walking today, just until we get back onto the Hadrians Wall path. It's still raining, but I'm hoping that the sun will come out a little later today, especially as we start to get back towards some of the exposed sections of the original wall. Unfortunately, due to the camera failing late yesterday afternoon, when we actually finally did start to get to some of those sections, I wasn't able to record it because I needed to keep my phone battery sort of charged up so that we could use that to actually get to the hotel we stopped at last night. But we should be okay today. The battery's had a full charge, and as I say, we're not going as far today.
Yeah.
So we go this way. Yeah. We're not going as far. Not going as far today. It's a bit of almost a bit of a rest day, because by the end of today we'll be at the start of Northumbria National Park, and we're going to have to try and do that particular section in one, because we were unable to find anywhere to stop anywhere in the middle. So it's an 18-mile trek tomorrow, but it will be, I think it'll be the hardest section of the trail, based on the fact that the terrain is completely different. I mean, we're going through the national park, so there'll be inclines, declines, and it won't necessarily be flat surface we're walking on. So tomorrow's really going to be the test for us, and as I say, today is more just a push along to get to the start of that point, and we'll have a fairly decent rest this afternoon once we get to tonight's digs. Okay guys, so we have just got back onto the Hadrians Wall walk path from our little detour down to the hotel last night. So we're back on track, and hopefully now, well, within the next few miles we should be coming across some fairly large exposed sections of the original wall. So there should be some more interesting bits that I can show you, other than us just being completely covered in water wandering through fields. But these are coming up. Okay, we've just come to the top of this hill here. You can actually see pretty much in all directions. Now this is what remains of this structure here, which is Pike Hill Signal Tower. Now obviously positioned on the top of the hill, it was a perfect vantage point for them to signal if there was anyone approaching the wall from the Scottish side. And obviously they could alert their own forces against it, and yeah, this is what remains of Pike Hill Signal Tower. So obviously in weather like this, guys, these walks can get to become quite grim, and it stays difficult to it gets difficult to stay motivated, but I'm that determined that we're going to get across this route that I'm not letting it faze me at this point. We have walked in worse weather. I've been on Snowden in the past. Unfortunately I've got no footage of it, but I've walked up Snowden in the past in 50-mile-an-hour winds with rain pouring in from what felt like every direction. So I am used to walking in this kind of weather, I would have preferred it if it was going to do this to have done it towards the end of the week, but we were lucky yesterday with the weather. But this is the downside of doing something like this in October, really. It's pretty much getting on for the middle of autumn, and we could only expect really bad weather for this time of the year. So I can't really complain, but we seem to be going okay. We've done probably about 3 hours so far today. It's been a bit of a slow trail today, mainly because we've had to we walked all the way up from Brampton back to the wall to start again from where we left off yesterday, and that probably took us an hour and a half. So we've actually only progressed along the wall for an hour and a half, despite doing 3 hours worth of walking. So we've got a fair bit of catching up to do. But as I said earlier in the video, this is only a short section we're doing today. So in theory we should be at our dig some point late afternoon. So this road we're walking on, guys, is actually built on the original Hadrians Wall route. You can see, there's a car coming now. You can see just how straight it is, and it's actually built on the original route. And what we've got now is, what's it called? Pike. Pike. So we have another watchtower just here, just off the road, and as you can see, although it is in ruin, it's amazing just how well made this was for it to still be standing here in some capacity, almost sort of 2,000 years later. It's quite impressive, really. I'm pretty sure some of the stuff that gets built now won't still be kicking about in 2,000 years. So it is very, very impressive. So guys, we have just finished our break in the snack shed, which, to be honest, is an absolute lifesaver. In there's tea and coffee, there's a microwave, there's all sorts of stuff that you can buy. It's absolutely fantastic. It's allowed me to change my waterproof. I've managed to change my hat. I was absolutely dripping wet. We've had a little bit of a rest, and we can now carry on. It has actually stopped raining, but the wind has picked up, so it might start raining again, depending on what the wind brings with it. But we're carrying on. The trail at the minute, I don't know if you can see that, looks absolutely sodden. So by the end of today, we're going to be wet, we're going to be muddy, and in desperate need of the lager in the pub that we're heading to. So definitely looking forward to that one tonight. We're right on top of the hill now, guys, and as you can probably see, we're catching all of the wind. So the hood's off, getting absolutely battered. Obviously this is the view from this side. I'm going to turn the camera, but the minute I do, it's going to get covered in water. So I'm going to turn the camera so you can see. Yeah, we're totally exposed to the elements on this section of the walk. It looks like the wind's just died on coming to the end of this section, but probably need to keep the hood up on my waterproof now as well. So what was a lovely dry change of clothes is now just as wet as the previous gear. So this is tough. So currently we are in the middle of nowhere. We've got some more exposed sections of wall coming up just here, guys. this is actually the conclusion of the first part of the Hadrians Wall edition of Turning Back the Clock. So we're going to end the episode now, and I'm going to pick up back here for the second section of the adventure in the next video. We've probably got another 2 hours walking to do today in some horrendous conditions. It's windy, it's rainy, we're basically soaking wet through. But thanks for joining me. Obviously don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see the next episode of the Hadrians Wall edition, and yeah, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, share them on your social media, that's really important. Next time, see how the adventure goes. Cheers, see you again.